listening to The Starting Zone, a podcast about World of Warcraft and the people who play it. And now, here are your hosts.
Well, hello and welcome to The Starting Zone, the podcast about World of Warcraft, the people who play it. Today is July 20th, 2025, and my name is Spencer Downey. Thank you so much for listening and subscribing to the podcast. I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Jason Lucas. Jason, how are you doing on this fine Sunday?
Spencer, hello. I'm doing quite well. It's been, it's been a super productive week for me, and we'll get into it here at the top. But we're in that spot now where we just got a couple weeks left until patch, right? Like This is the last. It's the last 2 weeks of patch. There's also that weird like preseason thing coming up, and that's it. And then we're into 11.2 and off and running, and it feels a little weird that it's this close. But I gotta say, I've been making a point to check stuff off my list and also take advantage of the stuff that's going on right now with the limited time buffs and everything. So I've been playing like quite a bit of WoW, really, although I think it, compared to when we last spoke, I think it's going to drop off here until patch, because I'm starting to really whittle down that patch and season checklist for sure.
Well, that's good, because they released their official What's Going Away blog, which we'll chat about in today's episode for people who are concerned about what they still have left to finish if they want to complete everything before those sorts of rewards go away. So that'll be in this week's episode. We also had that housing blog we did not get around to talking about last week, which will probably fit in here as well. So we can have some chat about that. Bank revamps is happening. There's going to be like whole new bank for all your storage and everything is getting upgraded and looking fancy. So we'll chat about that this week as well. So there's a bunch of things going on. Yeah,
because that's a thing they usually slide right into a
I know,
build
right?
note
Tail
2 weeks
end of
before
it.
a patch comes out. Yeah, sure, why not? Hey, this is the era of WoW that we're in, I guess.
Yeah, this is one of those things where I feel like this if they did this with the auction house, it would have been, everyone would have been like, "What is going on?" Where at least auction house wise, we got like a blog post of, "Hey, we intend to do this. Hey, we're experimenting with it. Hey, there's going to be extended maintenance and everything's you're not going to be able to post auctions for like a day, and like there's all that stuff sort of like led up to it. In this case, like 2 weeks before the patch. By the way, your whole bank is getting completely reorganized into a totally new bank. So, yeah, and overall, I'm just top of show details. It's good, in my opinion. You get more storage. That's good, right? We can store more things. Perfect. Okay, cool. So, yeah, That's the brief details. We'll get into the actual details a bit later on in the episode. But Jason, what did you get up to this past week of World of Warcraft?
Oh man, I got up to quite a bit, and I'm still working on some stuff before reset. But another night of just one, another week of one raid night, which was no surprise really. But we've been out of stuff to do, and we don't have that push into even re-clearing mythic, so it happens. This week was probably our last heroic clear. We usually do achieves really late, and we decided to do them really late. And then I sort of had this, people are on vacation at summertime, right? So people's schedules are out of whack or whatever. So I had a thought, like, why don't we just do achievements each of the last 2 weeks? And everybody was cool with that. So I think this was probably our last week in heroic, which was fine. I mean, heroic is such a fast clear, especially with all the zone buffs, and people can bring whatever they want to bring, kind of. We just blast through it, 60, 75 minutes, and that's done. Still doing keys for Vault. I don't know why. I don't really need any gear anymore. I even ended up getting in the last couple weeks like heroic hero track two-handers in case I want to play Fury, which I don't, but I got them. So I don't know. That's just what I got full sockets and everything. So I just flipped the loot spec over to arms because I figured, hey, you know what? I could use a two-hander if one shows up. And also, if I'm not on Fury or Prod, I won't get one-handers and shields, which I know I don't need. So, whatever. Just even at this point, like the last couple weeks, I said, oh, well, helping people's alts or whatever. At this point, like everybody I play with has done everything. I think we got Rogue Buddy his 3K this week against his will. We were like, yeah, it'll be fine. We'll do some 13s or whatever. Like, it's not going to be a problem. So that was the real icing on the cake for the season, I guess. I don't think we're going to be able to talk him into resilient 13s, but whatever. That's, so I don't know. Vault might fall off after this week. We'll see. So, that was kind of a light schedule of multiplayer stuff. So I just hit all that stuff on my list. I talked last week about doing Dastardly Duos, and I said I probably won't finish everything up. I ended up finishing everything up. I did. I don't know why or whatever. There's like a hidden achievement I didn't end up doing, but I did. I got all the standard achievements for that before it went away. I did the Xalatath lore walking, which I hadn't done yet. I still haven't done the Arthas one, but I did the two that are relevant for the next patch, or that we assume will be relevant. Maybe the Arthas won't be relevant. Who knows? That was really cool. Lore walking has been a fun little side project. I think it's just done really well, and you get cool rewards from it. I went and after Dastardly Duos, the next thing on my list was Underpin. I went and did Underpin ? It took me like 25 pulls. It was okay. I liked Zekvir better.
I like Zekvir better. Yeah.
I think Zekvir was harder. Underpin was like easier to learn, but more frustrating because of the randomness.
Exactly.
And all wiggly with kicking the bombs. It's just annoying.
Yep.
You immediately know, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do here. And it's just, I don't know. Whatever. I did it. I'm glad I did it. It was, I waited until I had the most power I was going to have. And I did it in, Colossus Prot. So I could just blow up the shield on the guy and just stay in my comfort zone. It was cool. And then when Reset rolled over, the buff kicked in. I immediately hit Exalted with the last of the 4 main Goblin cartels I needed that I hadn't hit yet. So all 4 of those are done. Dark Fuse I'm just not going to do. It's too much grinding, even with the bonus rep going on right now. Yeah. It's like I turned in everything I had and I got a little bit up through friendly. I'm not even honored. So I've spent enough time in Undermine, and I don't care about I just don't. It doesn't matter to me. So
there's cool rewards, man. It's cool. I'm with you.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where my time is valuable, and right now that is not one of the things I am putting a value on for how I spend it. So
yeah, exactly. There's just too much other stuff to do in WoW and also not in WoW, and so it doesn't make the list. And maybe someday it'll be a 200% thing, and then it's like, oh, hey, I never finished that. I only go grind it up. Just not doing that. But that was first order of business after Reset once that buff kicked in. I then finished up Greedy Emissary. I was pretty close, but I needed 4 or 5 sets going into this week. I got a couple right off the bat from the guaranteed chests and all that and what I had left over. And then I just got a little bit lucky here and there, and I got all those sets. So that's all done. I don't have to think about Greedy Emissary anymore.
Nice.
I hopped into Time Walking, got my Chrono Corsair done, which is incredible and well worth the wait. What a super cool looking mount. Great design. It looks great. So that was really it. There's really nothing left on my warrior for this patch or season checklist that much. So then I was like, well, this is exactly where I was trying to get to, because Winds of Mysterious Fortune started up and I have tunes I want to level, and Winds is incredible for it, even though the buffs don't look big to your eye because we're used to that 100% buff or whatever. Yeah. But in the current structure, Winds gives you so much, and leveling is so fast anyway. So I got my Shaman. I had messed around my Shaman a little bit. She was at 72. I got her to 80 pretty quick. I mean, I think I probably ran one or two pots. I had some XP pots left over that I lost. I didn't remember where they were. And then weirdly, at first I wasn't getting a lot of satchels and I wasn't getting a lot of pots on her, but still it went fast. I was actually playing Resto and doing follower dungeons and delves and some questing here and there and using one button to consolidate my DPS buttons in Resto. So that was kind of fun. Just put my brain in a bit of a different space. I wasn't doing it well, but whatever. I got the leveling on her done. And then Friday, I switched over to the Rogue. I got the Rogue from 70 to 76 in all of one XP pot. I found my stash of pots, and so then I could trade them around. And yeah, it's that 2-hour buff will get you 6 levels if you're just doing anything at all.
Right.
And with the Rogue, I've been twisting between quests and Time Walking. You get that Time Walking XP buff, and you stack that up with Winds and with Mentor and with the pot. And it's just absurd. I was playing a little bit before we started recording today, and I got him from 76 to 79 and 3/4 or higher in about an hour. So I'll finish that up today, and then it's Hunter, Warlock, Priest for the rest of. I'll get that done before this event is over, and then that's the earliest I think ever that I'll have all classes leveled. And then, also along with all of this stuff with Greedy Emissary and everything is the Collector's Bounty.
Yep.
So there's 3 things on my list, which is Ashes, Invincible, and Nightmare from Legion Kara. I'm not doing huge runs. I don't have a checklist.
The Legion Kara is like you walk in the front door and you can go and try and get that run. Like that's easy.
Yeah. I'm not doing some completionist thing. I don't have a spreadsheet. I have these 3 things on my list. So what I kind of did was took one character a day and went and did these 3 things until I got bored with it or whatever. I have a couple other characters I could probably rotate through before reset, but I did end up getting Ashes of Alar on the Druid the other day, which was awesome. Thank you. That just feels like something I should have on my account, Yeah,
no, I agree.
A really long running and old WoW account, and it's like I don't even love Ashes, but it's just a thing that's cool to have. So I'm glad that happened.
I'm one of the few people who got Ashes when that was relevant content. That was one of the that's how long I've had my Ashes. So I'm with you.
That's pretty rarefied air. But
the same thing with when I got my original Karazhan horse mount during that Karazhan. Like I've had a few mounts that were like OG mounts from like that. I've had this for decades at this point. Like it's weird.
For me, that was the Hawkstrider from Magister's Terrace.
Magister's Terrace.
I got that I got that doing the dungeon in 2.4, and I think that was the first mount drop I ever got in my WoW career. So yeah, that's pretty. It's like they do exist. It does happen, but
the one that's eluded me in that pile of mounts. I mean, Invincible, I just don't farm enough. I need to just go and do ICC more often in order to try and get that. But when it comes to a mount that I've actually looked for and actually did farm for a while pretty regularly, it's the Culling a Strat Baron mount. I just never got that last mount ever. Just wouldn't drop. So that's one of the ones just sitting out there of like, oh, I should probably like run a whole bunch of tunes through that over and over and over again during this event to try and get that again. But I don't know, man. I got to build up the motivation to get in there and do it again after doing it for so long at one point. So yeah, I don't know.
It's tough. I mean, this was the first week that I really sort of did it in a more structured way. I was doing some stuff on the Warrior here and there, and I went, I didn't get anything, whatever. I was like, you know what? Well, first of all, I'm pretty sure we'd have nothing official, but in my heart, I believe the Collector's Bounty is not going to be a one-time ever thing.
Oh yeah,
I'm pretty sure this is coming back.
Oh yeah, 100%
with semi-regularity. So, I wanted to kind of hit the biggest things on the list. I don't want to spend a lot of time doing this. I'm not super. I mean, I talk about it all the time. How I'm not super motivated by mounts and stuff like that. I have a lot of this MOG that I care about because I got it over the years. Although I have picked up a ton of MOG too, and with the Warband stuff, it's great for MOG collecting. It's incredible, actually. So it's been fun to do it, but I like to do it in little kind of chunks. I'm not sitting down doing a 6-hour lap of like everything I can possibly do on a tune or whatever.
Right.
That's not fun to me, but targeting a couple things has been pretty fun, and it paid off. Even if I get nothing else for the rest of the event now, it's like, well, I got Ashes. That was pretty cool. So yeah, I like it. It's been fun just as an excuse to revisit old content that I haven't really been doing a lot lately.
Makes sense to me. My week in WoW obviously started. It's so weird, like because we record these on Sundays, right? Sunday's my raid day, so we went into raid, one night cleared, felt great for me. I didn't have any issues at all, felt really good. And then what we've now done is we've converted our Monday into a raid prep night. So went to our raid leader's raid prep, which basically means he went over the first 4 bosses of the next raid, went over strategies, things that are different on Mythic, what positioning, had built out layouts for each of them, had clipped and made GIFs of certain abilities. You can see what the abilities look like. Just a lot of really, helpful prep for people. So it was nice to go through that and start going through that early, because we'll do that for all the subsequent Mondays till raid comes up. And obviously the one before it will go through the whole raid, which I think will be super useful. So I'm someone who definitely gets better at fights once I'm experiencing fights, but can plan for fights ahead of time. So, and what I mean by plan for fights is look at a dungeon journal, put together my bigwigs or my deadly boss mods for what sound effects I want to have play for certain abilities when certain things are happening, turn off a bunch of stuff, do all of that prep ahead of time so that my UI is set up the way I need it to, and my reminders are set up the way they need to be, which helps me have to remember less going into those fights, because one of the things that happens in the first week of a new raid coming out, especially for a team that regularly does mythic content, is you see a lot of bosses in a very short period of time. And it's really easy to be like, is this the one that has the orb that spins counterclockwise, or is this the one that spawns the fire circles? I can't remember which, like you can have that happen a lot, right? Where you're like, I can't really. So, you can have your cliff notes, on the side being like, this is the boss that has the spirally circles. You can have your UI set up properly, so it's reminding you of the things you need to remember. That can all happen before you get in there, and that by doing that before you get in there, you can at least have a better experience and as much preparation as you can learning the dance, because that's the next thing that comes in is, okay, positioning wise, I can only notate so many things as to where I need to be standing, because especially as a healer, you need to be in range of certain people all of the time. And if their positioning is erratic or isn't as organized as yours, that's going to change whatever plan you had for your movement, or you're going to have to vocally correct them to get them into a position that's better in that situation. So there's stuff like that you can't really plan for as well ahead of time. And it's just, it's people error, different people thinking of things differently. Yes, I could contact all of our tanks and DPS and try and be like, okay guys, we got to be sure that you're in this kind of spot, but that doesn't make as much sense. So that's the stuff that I leave a little bit more to learning the dance, and basically and this is just a general rule for me, and it's a good thing for anyone to remember. When you're progressing on any boss, always start in the same spot when you're doing something, because people get used to who's around them and get used to what space they have. Don't walk up to the boss and just plunk yourself down somewhere every pull, and that's a different spot every pull. Go, I've looked at the floor, this is where these two lines intersect, that's where I stand every time when we pull this boss. And if that spot works well, then just stay in that spot. If it doesn't, then obviously in the next couple of pulls, find a better spot of where you should start for how the pull starts. But if you do that every time, it's just like a dance. You start on the first step. That first step is important. So just literally that's one of the big things for me. I did on all of our jailer prog. I did on all of all those big mythic bosses that we've done. Was I started standing in the exact same spot, and my movement just becomes very predictable, consistent movement, because that way no one else around you is like, why did you run this thing into that? Or why did you carry this circle there? Why did you stack on me here? Or why did you that won't happen if you just have very predictable movement. What'll happen is people will do erratic movement and run into you, and you can then correct them in that situation, or understand why they had to do what they did. So maybe there's something you can shift to make their job, their life easier for you. So that's a big thing. If you aren't consistently starting in the same spot, you can't really be like, oh, well, I started 30 yards over to my right, and now suddenly that pull went really bad because all these people are around me. And why are all these people around me when they aren't normally around me? Well, it's because you started in a different spot, and maybe they're starting in a consistent spot. Who knows? So yeah, so there's a lot of raid prep stuff happening right now for us. That's where a lot of our focus is. So that has been good to sort of get revved up for. I still a little bit am reeling at how fast this is coming at us. I still feel like we should be 2 more weeks out. There should be 2 additional weeks before we see this content. It still feels that way. So part of me is like, man, this is coming fast. We gotta be ready. The other part of me is excited to be like, man, if it's coming this fast, we're probably going to be through it sooner, which means, right. There's a chance that we get back to this nice farm place that we're in right now faster. So I'm excited for that and to see how it goes, and this next raid tier, it's all gonna be really fun. Outside of that, I haven't been doing Mythic Plus. I've been doing Delves. I've been doing Mythic Plus, just stuff to sort of have some fun in the game. Time walking. Still need to do my last time walking dungeon for the week, which I'll do today. That's what I've been doing. Is Sundays or Mondays. Been knocking that out and get the last one in and get the mount, which will be nice for the Chrono Corsair. But yeah, I haven't been doing a ton of stuff outside of that, and wow, it's just been a nice little break to sort of get a breather and get your headspace back and get ready for the next raid tier.
Yeah, my kind of priorities have been stuff outside of raid and Keystone for weeks now, which is really cool, and it's also It's nice the way stuff lined up with this season, that it was kind of easy to do all of that wrap up stuff. I mean, obviously there's a bunch of things I haven't done, but I don't care about them. So having this giant rep buff come in the last couple weeks of, oh, I'm trying to finish up this cartel, like I'm kind of done with this zone, whatever. Perfect. Just stuff like that. All the extra power that we got, making underpin question mark so much easier at the end of the season. All of these things. It's like, it's just kind of fun. I'll have days where I just log in and go, what do I want to do in WoW today? Like, do I want to level a tune? Do I want to go after some, old raids or whatever for Mog and hopefully some cool drops? It's nice. It's a shame it can't be a little bit longer, but I'm getting into that space of being really excited for new stuff. I'm starting to see some friends kind of stroll back into the game, and we still have some recruiting to do probably, but just to make sure the team's in good shape for AOTC and for some extra mythic bosses and stuff. But the machinery is starting to click into place for that, and it's nice to just raid is over here. We'll do raid for like an hour this week, and see you guys next time.
Yeah, those breaks are so important. They're so important for teams to just have that breather and have that little bit of downtime between tiers. So I'm happy to be in that space. It's a nice space to be in. Okay, with that, let's hop into what's going on this week in World of Warcraft. All right, this week is the Delver's bonus event, which means the Sign of the Explorer buff is up, increasing your Delver's journey progress by 25%, companion experience gain by 25%, and undercoin gain by 25%. So there's still some things you're looking for at a Delves, or you're still finishing leveling up your brand. Whatever that is, this is a good week to be doing some additional Delves. Turbulent Timeways is going at the moment. That means that you can run classic time walking is this week for additional buffs that you can earn that increase your experience gains from combat and quests. And that means there's time walking versions of Dead Mines, Zul'Farrak, Dire Maul, East and West, Stratholme, Living and Undead. And they drop 610 gear, you get yourself some 587 eye level gear, and you get that heroic cash for finishing 5 of those, heroic Liberation of Undermine gear for finishing 5 of those. So obviously we're well past the cutoff for the buff, but if you're someone who has earned a couple of them and you still have 2 left, then this is classic week. Next week is BFA week, and then it's gone. So just get in there and finish it up if you still need to. Make sure that's checking off the list and getting out of there. The checklist for the week for folks that are still trying to get stuff done for this patch. Obviously, as Jason mentioned, there's a big rep buff up right now, which means your Undermine weeklies are juicy. So be sure you go down there and pick your particular faction you're supporting in Undermine, and then go out there and do your Urge to Surge and your Many Jobs Handle It, your Reduce, Resell, and your World Quests and that kind of stuff down there. That will progress very quickly. And we have the Delves Weekly from Brand popping up as our weekly, along with the weekly Delves bonus event, which is a great little overlap there. So definitely pick up your Delves Weekly from Bran and do a bunch of Delves this week, because if you still have stuff to finish up there, that is going to be ultra helpful for getting that completed.
Yeah, and if you didn't finish your Titan disc fragments from this current reset that we're in right now, I mean, geez, talk about bang for your buck.
Yeah.
The weekly event and plus the disc fragments and the Bran weekly, you can get a lot of rewards for very few Delves run. I mean, there's some rotation of like what quest Brand actually gives you, but it's rarely to do any more than like 3 Delves. So the weekly event is annoying because you have to do 5 to get the a piece of champ gear. Yeah, which isn't even really that good anymore. So it kind of is what it is. But hey, you can definitely get the disc fragments thing done in 3 Delves, and you can probably get the Brand weekly done in 3 Delves. So that's pretty nice. It's a real good, especially if you have a tune you just leveled or whatever. Make sure you pick up the quest to get your belt, and then that's a huge power spike for a pretty fresh 80. So that's some nice synergy kicking in this week.
Yeah. As far as Mythic Pluses go, we believe it's Pulsar week that we're heading into here, which means that you're going to have those crystals that spawn around players that rotate around them, and you have to run and touch each other's crystals in order to get the buff, the mastery and leech buff that you're going to be building up. That's going to happen so that you can actually, get that buff up and don't let it expire. And the only real thing that stands out for this, I mean, Pulsar is pretty straightforward for everybody who's out there, is, you know, the bosses where you got to spread out. You might have to have someone sort of move around and pick up the orbs off of other people who are out in the middle of nowhere doing a mechanic. So outside of that, like last boss of Rookery, you really just got to touch these things. It's super simple. There's no like, hey, you need to bring this particular ability. Hey, you really bring this particular class. None of that matters with this affix. It's a great affix for just group composition. And yeah, I hope you enjoy your Pulsar week.
Yeah, it's the type of affix where you sort of, I mean, you kind of mentioned it, but you get that sort of like progressive buff based on so you don't have, it's not like an all or nothing proposition like some affixes have been in the past. It's like you can get some of it and still be in a good spot if something really weird happens. So that's nice. The all or nothing kind of stuff I think tends to be really punishing. And you know, the thing that this replaced from season 1 was really punishing because you failed it a lot. This one you don't fail very much. So yeah, it's good. I have not done a dungeon with an affix
in a long time. I know,
months, and it's going to be really weird stepping into season 3 and having to navigate all these again. I'm kind of wondering if, you know, season 3, maybe that's the last. I don't know. Is that maybe the last time we see affixes or whatever, other than stuff with mob scaling or timer stuff or whatever? I think it could be. I think the pools are diverse enough. In the olden days, the affixes were good because they spiced up dungeon play when you were in the same 8 dungeons for 2 years. And they don't do that anymore. And this was part of my argument for why it was good that seasonal affixes went away, especially after we had some kind of clunkers over the years. You know, it was to inject variety into a static system. And now the system itself has variety, right? So I don't know. I think with I think you could apply resilience to lower keystone ranks. I don't think that needs to be a thing that you only unlock at 12. I think you could reward players doing lower ranks with resilience. And I think that, you know, you could maybe get rid of affixes entirely and just let the dungeons be the dungeons and just focus on making cool and interactive pulls and mob packs and bosses and stuff and go with that. I thought I would hate it because I thought that playing without affixes would be too samey week to week, but I think actually it just really lets you feel like you have mastered a dungeon and just be able to, you know, try that next rank or just try to do something, try to do a bigger pull or try to take a different approach or whatever. I think it's been great. I thought I wouldn't like it and ended up really liking it a lot. And I think it would be a better experience for more players to have, to be honest.
I agree. I feel like I'm not totally opposed to them being affixes. I just feel like the affixes should be substantially more beneficial than they are negative if they're going to do a Kiss Curse. And I would be perfectly comfortable if they just remove the curse entirely and we're like, hey, guess what? When you first start doing Mythic Plus, it's Mythic Plus, but with your movement speed is increased by 30%. And so you just get in, it's just wacky, you know, up until you do a +7, you just have crazy movement speed through the whole thing. And then you're like, oh, wow. So now I feel that they've removed that movement speed and that's gone. Or, you know, whatever it is. Like they could choose a haste buff. They could choose a mastery buff. They could do leech. Everyone could have a shield that spawns on them every, you know, minute. They get a, you know, third of their health as just a shield that appears that has to be chewed through. Like those sorts of things to me would be fine to put in there to sort of give players who are like, hey, I want to do Mythic Plus. I want to learn these dungeons on a higher difficulty where things hit harder, but I don't want it to feel punishing to do so. I think that to me would be fine to just have buffs essentially that are provided within the dungeons or that you pick up through it. I remember back in the friggin' Legion days when you'd have like, oh, I brought a tailor along. All right, well, the tailor can use this and it buffs our whole group with this thing. Like I'd be fine bringing that stuff back. That wouldn't bother me at all. Like,
yeah,
that,
there is some of
know,
that stuff in this expansion, but it's not as pervasive. It's like a short duration buff or whatever. Like, I think you could inject more of that stuff into a dungeon pool and have it be less about, you know, here's these 4 affixes. You have to deal with one of these every week or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like now there's not even enough variety in the affix pool to begin with. Like there used to be a much longer list of combos and stuff. So the whole thing is just so condensed now. It's weird. It's like maybe we don't actually need to do this. Maybe there's a way to design their way out of affixes, right? And
Yeah,
I think you get some pudding that proves that from season 2, so to speak.
I agree. For me, it's just I feel like I want people who are first getting introduced to Mythic Plus to not feel like the first 12 or 10 keystones are the same thing with a slightly higher twist to damage. I want there to be like something fun and inspiring because you get such a large buff or whatever it is to get in there and start trying it, because there is just a mental barrier for a lot of people to do anything mythic related. Anything with a mythic title attached to it is something that has a mental barrier for folks. So I feel like if you could have, I'd call them enhanced dungeons, I don't care, something, right, that essentially is the first 7 or 8 keystones that is a benefit to those folks, that makes it, hey, this is kind of neat and fun and wacky, like, almost Brawl-esque for those first chunk of keystones. That to me would be interesting to get people introduced to it. And if they're doing 7s, then, it's not that far of a push to keep doing 8s and 9s and 10s and get up into that, hey, this is the same dungeon you've been running with this crazy buff, but we've removed the crazy buff. Give it a shot, see how it feels. Like that to me, it can't obviously be like walking off a cliff, but maybe that buff where maybe it's 30% up until 4s, and then it's 20% up until 7s, and then it's 10% up until 10s, and that's gone. Like, I don't know, like whatever you want to do for that drop off that might feel good for players, I think would be a fun way to introduce it. Because what I want is just a larger Mythic Plus pool. Like I just want more people in that having that fun and having that party. And so I like the idea of breaking that mental barrier of having mythic content, sort of stopping people from hopping in and checking it out. So I don't know. I think affixes aren't the thing. I agree. I just feel like there is something they could do for early keystones to make it not just the same dungeon but slightly harder, because that's not going to interest a lot of people who are put off by the concept of mythic stuff. But if it's the same dungeon but a goblin spawns and gives everyone a treasure bag, and the treasure bag has a cool buff in it or something like that, whatever it is, right? Like, I use that just because that's currently happening in all the raids, but that to me is just one of those neat things that they could implement. So I'm hoping to see it. Okay, anyways, I mentioned goblins. Greedy Emissary, it's still going on for another week. So that is that, and Collector's Bounty will end on July 29th. That's when that's going away. Winds of Mysterious Fortune is going away on the 12th, so that's going away obviously with the next season launch. So you'll have until then to be able to get the additional buffs out of Winds of Mysterious Fortune. The micro holiday coming up is the Auction House Dance Party. That is happening on the 22nd, so on Tuesday. If you are someone who is logging in to pick up your stuff from your vault, there might be a dance party happening nearby. Just keep that in mind. As one of the, you might be like, what is that music that I'm hearing in my bank? It's the auction house nearby that has cranked up the volume and is currently, having a big dance party over there with the DJ booth. So yeah, you can head in there, you can, dance on the dance floor, and you get some traveler's log points out of participating in it. So keep that in mind if you're trying to get stuff in the, before everything goes away for the month. You can get some traveler's log points just for participating in the dance party. And it's, I don't know, it's a fun thing. To me, it was like, hey, we had dance studio assets we never put into the game, so we just threw them in the auction house for this micro holiday. That's what it sort of felt like to me.
Yeah, could be. Like, it's fine. It's kind of fun, I guess. I did it the first time it came out, just like every other micro holiday. I was like, let me see what this is about. And I was like, oh, this is neat. And then I never did or thought about it again. So there you go. But yeah, keep in mind, there are other auction houses you can visit. This isn't every auction house. It's just the main ones in Oregon and Stormwind.
Correct.
So if you need to conduct some auction house business, just go somewhere else.
Yep.
Or just find one of the million cash shop Brutos that are everywhere. So I'm sure someone can accommodate you wherever you may go. But
if the Brutos suddenly had like disco balls hanging from them, or we're sort of like doing a shuffle, I would love that. If they just like the Brutos just like did a little like in place shuffle back and forth as I would be down if they
you couldn't use the auction house on a Bruto for the 22nd of July because of the dance party.
That would be terrible. I'd hate that. But I could see the Brutos doing a little sidestep shuffle back and forth would be kind of hilarious, or
something like a disco ball pop up over the Bruto's head or something.
Yeah,
that would be fun. But anyway, if you use the main city auction houses and you go there on Tuesday and you're like, what is happening? Why can't I use the auction house? Just go somewhere else or use a mount. It'll be fine. But yeah, if you want to go there and dance, then that's where you go.
Last chance for War Within Season 2 achievements and rewards. This is the post that I'm sure some people have been waiting for to try and figure out what is going away and what they can sort of put off for a bit longer, because you got a whole rest of the expansion to finish. So with this wrapping up, Season 3 kicking off on August 12th, this is the stuff you got to keep in mind. War Within Season 2 meta achievements. There are 2 meta achievements that players may want to complete before August 5th, and that is the War Within Season 2 Master Blaster, which is accomplish either 1600 PvP rating, 2000 plus Mythic plus rating, or defeat Chrome King Gallywix on Heroic or Mythic. That will be going away August 5th. You want to finish before August 5th if you're going to be doing that. The Dress to the Mines achievement for completing one of the following feats of strength, either Mythic, Chrome King Gallywix, or War Within Keystone Hero Season 2, which is getting a rating of 2500 or above, or Elite, which is the reaching the rank of Elite in PvP. That will be going away as well. So this is before August 5th. Keep that in mind. For completing the meta achievements, there's a bunch of different rewards you get for these things. Most of them are cosmetic rewards or mounts, so just keep that in mind. As far as these sorts of rewards go, there's no like character power that they hand out for this sort of stuff. There might be like a catalyst charge or something you get like that for some of them, so just keep that in mind. Okay. War Within Season 2 raid rewards. As the season draws to a close, you want to make sure you finish a few achievements in Liberation of Undermine before they become feats of strength and can no longer be earned. The Ahead of the Curve Chrome King Gallywix, which is defeating Gallywix on Heroic, Cutting Edge Chrome King Gallywix, which is defeating Gallywix on Mythic, and Hall of Fame Gallywix, which is being among the first 200 guilds in the world to defeat Mythic Gallywix. Those obviously are all going away. Some of these have already closed. You can't get Hall of Fame anymore, obviously. So that is a thing. But Cutting Edge and your Ahead of the Curves will be going away. So be sure you're getting those accomplished as well. The keys to Big G will still be available for killing Chrome King Gallywix. However, the drop chance will remain the same until the next expansion, when it will become a very rare drop. So that's a big deal. So you actually have all of the next season to get guaranteed drops of mounts for people until the next expansion. That's when it's going to drop down low. So that's important to note. Puzzling Cartel Chips.
Yes, I just want to butt in on that one because this is like they did this with Jaina back in BFA.
Yeah.
So by the end of that expansion, we were kind of tapped out on Nyalotha, and we would take a night and just we had a rotation and we'd go through. Like Jaina was still kind of hard. I have a feeling that by the time we're all maxed out here and with the zone buff and everything, that like, you know, it should be less hard than Jaina was to figure out what to do. Maybe, I don't know. It just seems like that 18% on top is so massive.
The only thing with Gallywix that will still trip people up towards the end of the expansion is if everyone has gotten into the circles they need to get into before you know, rockets have landed or whatever, right? Like, as long as that has happened, I imagine you'll just be blowing through Gallywix by the end of the expansion.
Yeah, I got to think so. With the item level inflation, whatever power we're going to get as, you know, through the Reshi wraps and all that, and if they add anything else in the .5 or a .7. So I think it's really cool that I didn't expect that they would keep this on. Yeah. And that was a great opportunity. We even did some sales and stuff back then, if you can imagine that, because we could do that. We got everybody on the main team, the Jaina mount, and then we could, you know, rotate a couple people in, make some gold for the guild and get the mounts out. So that's pretty great. That's something we'll have to keep an eye on, even for like my team, as we get, you know, towards the end of the proceedings here in War Within. So really, really cool that they're leaving that on. It's a super neat looking and unique mount. And I think it's cool when they leave stuff like that in a middle tier, because it gives you something else to maybe check out as an expansion is aging out.
Yeah. Puzzling Cartel Chips, their quests, and the vendor will no longer be available with the end of Season 2, which means you need to spend those chips before Season 2 ends. So I currently have 2 chips left because I have been holding out that I'll get a Jaster's Diamond at some point from either Raid or from my vault. And if I don't, by 2 weeks from now, you know, 2 Tuesdays from now, I will buy it. I'm just going to buy the Jasper's Diamond, and then I'm going to buy the trinkets I don't have for Mythic Plus. So I'll buy. That's what my other one is for trinkets for Mythic Plus. So if I get a Jasper's Diamond before then I can spend both of those cartel chips on buying trinkets for Mythic Plus. If I don't, then it is what it is. But that is the situation I'm in right now. So that's where my brain's kind of at with those things. But just be sure you spend them before Season 2 ends. Okay, War Within Mythic Plus rewards. The following achievements will become feats of strength. That is Keystone Explorer, Keystone Conqueror, Keystone Master, Keystone Hero. Those are all going to become that, as well as Keystone Legend. And so for those who are curious about what these were, that's the 1,500, 2,000, 2,500, and 3,000 ratings. Those will all become feats of strength. And Enterprising Hero, that is the one where you actually get the 0.1% of players in your region. You got the top rating. You're way up there. That one will also become a feat of strength. So just keep that in mind. You will also not be able to earn the achievements per dungeon to teleport to dungeons. So the teleport to dungeon option will only be available to dungeons that are included within future Mythic Plus dungeon rotations. So keep that in mind. If there are dungeons right now that are out, Priory, for example, it's coming back, so you can earn your Priory teleport next season if you want to, but you won't be able to earn some of the other ones. Dark Flame is not coming back. You will not be able to earn your Dark Flame one. Keep that in mind. So, get your portals when you need to get your portals. PvP. Combatant 1, Combatant 2, Prize Combatant, Challenger 1 and 2, as well as Rival 1 and 2, Duelist, Elite, Gladiator, Prized Gladiator, and the prized weapons of conquest are all going to be things that become feats of strength and go away. So if you're someone who's doing a lot of PvP and you're earning those sort of ranks, got to keep that in mind, that those things are going to be going away. I know Gladiator's always been, they get 50 wins in 3v3 once you're at a Gladiator ranking, and then Prize Gladiator is the 0.1%. So keep that in mind. They also have the ones for rated battlegrounds. So they have the strategist, the prized marshal, hero of the alliance, battle mender, all those things. They're all going to go away as well and become feats of strength. So keep that in mind. Ratings for season 2 are going to be locked in when the season ends. Now you might be like, well, when is that? Well, that is 10 p.m. local time for your server, the night before content releases on August 5th. So August 4th, 10 p.m. local time is when those will all lock in. So just keep that in mind. That is your cutoff for those things. Delve rewards. If you're someone who wants to do the delve things, right? This is the War Within Delves tier 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, which is, completing a tier X delve, whatever one that was, 10, 11, with it, with lives remaining. So you have to actually have lives remaining. Those are all going to become feats of strength. The Cataclysm, where you ask Bran about what happened with his hat 10 times after recovering it, from the underpin, that is going to go away too. That is going to become a feat of strength. My new nemesis, by the way, I actually didn't know about Cataclysm at all, so I got to do that. Hopefully I can still do that, but I imagine I can. My new nemesis, the defeat the underpin in his lair, that is going to go away. So if you want to get your golden gob propulsion rig, that is something you got to be sure you get done. Breaking the Bank, which is defeating underpin on his question mark difficulty, which gets you the title The Real Deal. That is going to be going away as well. Let Me Solo Him, which is defeating the underpin in his lair on question mark without any other player in your party. That is going to be going away as well, and that's where you get the mount customization for the Delver's Gobtrotter, which makes it a gold mount. So if you want the gold version of that, you got to defeat him on that difficulty before then. And then Just Keep Swimming, which is successfully complete a Cobus Delve without ever losing your breath on tier 8 or higher, is also apparently going to become a feat of strength. So just, keep that in mind if you haven't done that yet. I got that one a long while back, so I'm good on that. But yeah, that's another one that's apparently going away.
I put my Kalawak Mastercraft fishing pole in my fishing equipment slot day 1 of Dragonflight patch, and I have never run out of breath anywhere ever since because it's got water breathing on it and it just worked. So I got that without even knowing it was a thing. So that was fun. A bunch of stuff from Underpin is going to still exist as a low drop chance, but realistically, like the back piece and the mount customization, you'll still be able to get after this. But realistically, why do you want to do that? If you have time to do it, if you haven't done it, if you have time to do it in the next 2 weeks, get it done, get it guaranteed, and enjoy it. That's my advice. Also, the stuff with like overcharged delves are going away. This isn't in the post, but we can see this on PTR. Overcharged delves are going away, but the quest line will still exist to get and upgrade the belt. It'll just be converted to work in like standard delves. So keep that in mind. And also the super cool mount that you get for maxing out the Titan console, the mech suit, that will be purchasable with Undercoin. So
nice. It's a good,
again,
good touch.
Probably easier to just do, like, if you have the time and inclination, just go blow up some overcharged delves and get all your cool rewards. Like, I think it's actually really fun, and the rewards are nice. So do that, and then get your belt ready to go, and then go solo underpin, and then you don't have to think about any of this stuff ever again. But if that doesn't work for you, then some of this stuff will still exist from delves, at least, which I think is fine. Like the delve stuff is obviously very solo player oriented. You don't have to do it solo, but it's really made for the solo player audience. So I think having ways that turning the kind of prestige rewards into low drop chance going forward, putting stuff on the grind this currency vendor if you missed the event, like, I think that's okay, because it's something you can really do at your own pace. So yeah, I think that's a good call. I mean, obviously the PvP stuff is bog standard. This is every season roll that happens, and same thing really with the raid and dungeon stuff too. Like, pretty typical. I don't think there's any huge surprises here, except in a good way. I'm glad that the galley mount's sticking around, and this is only the second delve season we've ever seen end, and there was a bunch of different stuff this season because of the overcharge thing. So still kind of figuring out what that looks like on rotation, but seems good. I think for me, there's really not much where I'm like, I got to do that. I do have to. I didn't do the Cataclysm either, I don't think. So I might want to do that just for posterity. Just to say, hey, look, they put this in here one time.
Well,
Isn't that funny?
It's like having the knuckle sandwich feat of strength, man. You gotta have some of these oldies and goldies, right?
Yeah, I think that might be in that category for me. So I gotta see what that actually is, because I don't think I even did it by accident at this point. So,
well, I definitely did the, hey, what happened to my hat? I just didn't ask him about it 10 times. So that's, I was like, all right, well, let's keep asking him, I guess. Let's see what happens. So that I have not done, but I love that people figured that out and that it's an achievement. All right, War Within, Zone, and Dungeon Koresh. So they did another blog, and this blog is a recap of stuff we've now discussed twice on this show. So it really is just saying, hey, here's the zone that you're going to be looking at as far as what Koresh looks like. It's going to have the Veiled Market, Tazavesh as the main hub. That's going to be the hub where you launch your adventures from and head out and go do things. The primary faction is the Koresh Trust, so that's the faction we're going to be earning renown towards, and there's going to be a renowned quartermaster with rewards off of it. There'll be points of interest where things take place in there, and so we know those are some of the ecodomes and whatnot, but I don't want to spoil stuff for people. You'll be phase diving with your Reshi Wraps, which we've talked a lot about already, because that's going to be the new sort of item mechanic that everyone's going to carry through this patch, so keep that in mind. The new dungeon, Ecodome Aldani, we've also talked about a bit, 3-boss dungeon with normal, heroic, and mythic difficulty. That's going to reward 639 for normal, 665 for heroic, and 681 for mythic. That is the champion track rank 1. So just keep that in mind. The champ track is going to start at 681, which is, a pretty high level for what you're talking about right now inside the game. So that will be a nice step up for a lot of people. In that first week, when you're prepping for your raid, you get out there, you run some mythic zeros, and you get yourself some nice loot out of that as far as upgrades go. The formidable bosses in there, they actually put a little, description and what sort of loot drops from them as far as items go, so keep that in mind. That'll be in there. It looks like there's some trinkets, so those could be interesting for some folks. But I don't want to, again, spoil too much stuff for people, so I don't want to, dig into loot tables, I guess. It's also, I don't think it's very stimulating to dig into loot tables on stuff. The dungeon achievements are the other thing that they've put inside this post, where it's, defeating the Echo Dome on different difficulties, and then they have one for doing it on a Mythic plus 10 or higher. So, yeah, it's another blog post about the new zone. There's nothing in here that's like, oh my god, this is crazy, brand new news. This is just a better description of the dungeon and zone of what it's in. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a traditional, like, hey, the patch is coming out. We need to publish a blog on every feature.
Yeah.
So, but it is. I think it is maybe the first sort of introduction, I guess, to the Renown faction, like
Yes,
that
it is.
I've seen in official stuff. So,
Yeah.
good to know. We are getting a major faction. It sounds like it's just going to be one thing, so you don't have to like pick your picking the Goblin Cartel. I don't know. It was fine, but I did it more than most people, and I just finished it this week, and I didn't even do the grindy one. So. But that's cool. I'm really, I haven't played PTR at all, and maybe this week I'll get in and do a little bit of it because I just really want to go hang out in Tazavesh. I'm not going to lie. I think that's one of the coolest spaces they made for the game.
Yeah, that being a hub city, is very cool. Really cool. That's going to be a hub city for people because it is. It's an awesome place. I'm super excited to see what they pull in. I bet there are a ton, so I really hope there are, of little nods to different WoW content in that Veiled Market. Like, I would not be surprised if there was like, hey, is that a warglaive they have that's just hanging on a shelf behind someone? Like just all sorts of weird, wacky things that they have inside of this place. Hey, look, there's an Ashbringer inside of that barrel full of swords or whatever, right? Like, I don't know.
You can let the prop artists and environment designers just kind of go for broke in a space like this because anything could make sense in the context.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
It'd be neat to see what they do. Okay, but here's the PTR update notes, all right? This is where we get to the bank stuff. So, first and foremost, Valor Stones are not going to be reset with the new season. You will keep all of your Valor Stones, which means if you're like, hey, I'm looking for something to sort of do before this patch hits, you could choose to just gather a bunch of Valor Stones so you roll into it with a bunch for upgrading some of that early gear you get if you wanted to. But I imagine you'll be doing enough content when this launches. You'll probably cap your Valor Stones doing that anyways. Also, not to mention the Goblin event that's happening right now gives Valor Stones. So if you're gathering any of the Goblin stuff, you're going to have a lot of Valor Stones anyways. So just keep that in mind. But yes, they're not resetting, which is wonderful. So people will be able to keep that. Big deal.
Huge, yeah, I really like it. I mean, Valor Stones are sort of, people hate Valor Stones and they harp a lot on like why do they exist? And
exactly.
I think like I could see both sides of the argument. I mean, I think the big reason why they exist is because they provide sort of this secondary upgrade track, right? Like it's the currency that you spend to, upgrade an item that's of the same slot of something you've already gotten to that item level. And so it's like a nice discount, but it's sort of the reward for spending time doing an activity in the game, basically. So, I mean, yeah, you could replace that secondary cost with gold or whatever, sure, but that's the design reason seemingly why they put it in there. The reset does feel kind of bad because Valor Stones never change. It is a reward for your time spent in the game. And so not resetting it is pretty nice. It's not huge. I mean, like you just mentioned, like we're moving into a brand new patch with a new story campaign and all kinds of new stuff to do. We're going to have just heaps of Valor Stones dumped on our heads. And for people that are rolling in at high item level, you're probably not going to have anything you even need to upgrade right away. And I don't know if we even be able to do any upgrades the first week, right? So you might, no matter what, you might end up just hard capped on Valor Stones if you're rolling in 680 plus to begin with.
Yeah.
The one thing I wonder about, which I didn't, I should have checked because I was on PTR briefly today. When you hit certain achievements for like power levels around your crest or whatever, or you complete certain renown ranks or whatever, you get these gifts that are items that when you use the item, it converts to Valor Stones, right? I have a whole bunch of these that I haven't consumed, so I'm wondering if those will go away or something, or if they'll be automatically converted and then I'll lose out essentially because I'm capped or whatever, or if they'll just sit there and then I can use them at my convenience throughout Season 3, where it's like, okay, I know there's not going to be anything else coming, right? Like this is the end of this whatever, and also I know that like there's no resets, so now if I get a couple upgrades at one time, I don't need to wait and then run dungeons or whatever and then you bank up more Valor Stones. I can just finally crack these items open and then spend my Valor Stones. That would be really nice. That's and also there's, if you have like a new character or whatever, right, all those renown quartermasters and stuff, they have quests that just award you with Valor Stones or award these types of items that I'm talking about. So if you haven't picked those up, then that's a perfect opportunity, at the outset of season 3, just to get an extra little, boost of Valor Stones for when you're doing those early season upgrades, where I know some people end up in the spot where it feels like they can never get enough. This should help smooth that out a little bit, at least.
I know that, that's what I was going to mention. I know that at the outset of season 2, a lot of people did not have those quests that they picked up yet, and just went and picked up those quests and had a ton of Valor Stones and crests and stuff right at the start of the season, because they went and did those renown turn-ins right away as soon as the season started, and they hadn't done them earlier. So yeah, that is an advantage you can have if you still have that stuff kicking around. But in general, I think if you're doing dungeon content of some kind, you're going to have Valor Stones dumped on your head in a pretty big way, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Okay, player bank updates. All right, guys, this is like an old system that's been around since the launch of WoW that they've tacked on things to, but have never actually done a whole revamp of. So this is our first big bank revamp. In Ghost of Koresh, your bank is updated and now uses the same configuration as the war bank. You might go, what does this mean? Well, it means that, what your war bank looks like is what your bank is going to look like. That initial bank, when you walk up to the bank and click on it right now, is a box of places you can put items, and below it are individual bags. Each of those bags you swap out with other bags to sort of store more things in. What's going to happen is that initial screen is going to look like a Warbank tab, which is 96 slots. So it's bigger than your current one as far as, because you can then buy more tabs. So you can get 6 tabs. So right now you can have all those bags at the bottom, as opposed to having all those bags at the bottom. Every time you spend gold, as opposed to opening a new bag slot for you to put a new bag in, you now get a new 98 slot storage space. So you'll have your initial 98 slot storage space, and then you'll have tabs on the right side that go your next 98 slot storage space for 1 gold, your next 98 slot storage space for 100, your next for 500, your next for 1,000, your next for 2,500, your next for 5,000. So you can have a whole bunch of those, all 98 apiece, which is bigger than most banks that you currently have. I guarantee, especially on alts, if you haven't been upgrading bags inside of that, this is a huge amount of storage space to gain, which is great. The bank tabs are automatically unlocked on login. So if you're someone who has already purchased all those bag slots at the bottom, they're already unlocked. At level 80, all tabs are unlocked automatically, which they clarify saying for characters level 80, the number of tabs available will be based on how many bag slots, including reagent bank and void storage, were available to the character before the update. The reagent bank is being removed. That is the next thing that's happening. They're not going to have a reagent bank anymore. It's just going to be another tab that you put stuff in. So you can still define what goes into what tab. So if you want reagents to go into a particular tab, just go up to the little box at the top, click on it, and set it to reagents. And that's what will go into that thing automatically when you're choosing to do it. You won't have one tab that's used just for reagents, or all those, reagent bank was 3 tabs or something. You won't have that being the thing anymore. Those will just be reagent space. Those will just be general bank slots. You can put whatever you want in. The void storage has also been removed, and you are gaining slots for that. So you're going to end up with more storage overall. We're not shrinking storage, and everything should fit. I wanted to really clarify before I talked about this feature, we're getting more storage space, because the last thing I would want to have see when they revamp the bank is, hey, my void storage is full and my bank is fairly full and my reagent tab's fairly full, and I get this update and suddenly I have 130 items that get mailed to me because they didn't fit into my bank, and I have to try and figure out where all my stuff went and what goes where and how it's going to be sorted, because that already is going to be work. If you mailed me items too, I would be very frustrated with this choice. So overall, everything should fit into the new spaces that they're creating for it. It'll probably just be very disorganized. So if you're someone like me who likes having a very clean and organized bank where I know where everything is, this is going to be a little nightmarish when you first log into it, I imagine. It's going to be like, oh my God, everything's here and I don't know what to do with it, and how do I do this? That's gonna be a little frustrating, because I always have, for me, in my main bag tab, the far right bag is gear for this current expansion that I've set aside in case I need to swap pieces out. The bag next to that one is consumable stuff that I want to have for specific activities that I'm doing, but like I have ideas for what things are supposed to be like. I'm sure there's going to be add-ons that'll sort stuff for you if you want. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of updates to that kind of stuff in general, but this is going to be a revamp, and it is coming. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and set aside some time before the 5th of August to purge my bank, which is something I normally do towards the end of an expansion before we go into a new expansion. I'm going to do it early. I'm going to do it before this happens, because it will mean it's less of a cluster for me when this stuff launches. So keep that in mind. In general, all of our characters should be gaining additional storage, and it'll be a simpler storage system to look at. It's going to look different, but it'll be a simpler storage system to look at. It's just one of those things of the change and moving with the change is going to feel jarring, I think, for a lot of players. So just keep that in mind.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's been a long time that we've had the bank as we know it now, and it wasn't really that much different from, the original, like, vanilla WoW bank.
Yeah.
It's a little weird that, like, we got the reagent bank recently and then it's going away so soon, but that was kind of a Band-Aid on a bigger problem, I think, overall. And, like, Warbands sort of knocked down the door to this whole thing. I did log in and mess with this on PTR, and it's just so much better. I really think so. Even if you had the biggest bags possible, like your void storage is just bigger, right? Each tab.
Yeah.
So I logged in on, I just copied my main over. Obviously, she's level 80, has everything, all the stuff unlocked for void storage and for bank tabs and all that with the bags. Logged into PTR, and I had 6 98 slot tabs. Void storage 1 and 2 became tabs 5 and 6. And reagents became tab 4, and each of the tabs in the new bank is the same size as the reagent bank currently is. So that was just a 1-to-1. The new tabs are bigger than the void storage tabs, so that was just extra storage for each of those tabs, even moving all of my stuff out of void storage and into the new bank. And I don't know what the biggest theoretical bags are. Is 36 slotters the biggest? I didn't have full 36 slots in my bank. I think I had 1 or 2 and then some slightly smaller ones. Even with those 7 bags or whatever, however many slots it is. I forget. We did the math before we started recording, but it was still an upgrade, even assuming you had full 36 slotters, which I didn't even have. So it is a fair extra bit of storage, and it should be pretty flexible. It has the tools that you're used to for cleanup, like on your bags or on other things that use that, where you can set it to be equipment or reagents or profession items or ignore or whatever. So that's pretty nice. It is going to be a big project. I think I might see if I can consolidate some of my void storage stuff down now before it gets converted, just so it's a smoother thing to do, because it did move all that stuff, like void storage. It moved 1-to-1 into, from tab 1 to tab 1, and from tab 2 to tab 2. Reagent, it moved 1-to-1, and then it kind of just dumped everything in the upper 3 tabs. So it's like I could consolidate the void storage stuff down, or maybe now that void storage is going away, like I want to combine that with some stuff that wasn't in void storage and all that. So it might be good to just kind of keep it in mind that, like, it is going to do that stuff when patch comes out. And maybe, if you want to spend some time doing a little bit of organization or cleanup now, it might save you some headache later. Cause this is going to be a project for me to do patch week for sure. I'm glad they're doing this. I mean, I think a bank overhaul to this degree is long overdue for this game, and it's going to be so much better to have the new bank. But I got a lot of stuff. I hang on to stuff for a long time for reasons I can't even explain. There aren't reasons. I just have it. And so, now I'll have more space to put the stuff and I can organize it better, but I got it. I have to do the organization. So it is going to be a little bit of a time sink for me after patch.
So here's the thoughts I have on this, right? So reagent bank going away, totally fine with, because the majority of my characters just use Warbank as my reagent bank now. So it just goes across all my characters, all the resources. it just makes sense to get rid of the reagent bank, in my opinion. There's only a few reagents that are bound to your character, and I'm fine with those having a certain space inside of those tabs. But the nice thing is my reagent bank was like 80% empty because of that, right? Because I threw everything into the war bank, that means that my reagent bank was 80% empty. I'm just gaining all those storage slots. Like all of that storage space is just becoming general storage space I can use. The thing about void storage is there were certain items you could void storage and certain ones you couldn't. And if you were going to void storage something, it had to be fully repaired. You had to accept that all the gems and sockets and stuff and enchants were going to come off of it. There's all these like caveats that happened about void storaging stuff. All those caveats are now gone because it's just becoming part of your bank tab. So you just have that storage space, which is just substantially better. What I'd like to see, and this is something that's going to happen with our housing stuff that we're going to get later on, and I'm hoping to see this as a thing that they can do in housing, is a trophy shelf. Where if there's certain items, it can be, maybe it's only 10 slots or something, right? Certain items where, or I mean, if it was 15, it was like a cabinet if you want to, or whatever it was, that you really felt had value, if you could put them in that. So if you had your Skull of Gul'dan or whatever it is, if you put that item in there, it displayed the item, would be very neat as a thing for housing. So I'm just putting that out there of like, the reason why, like what I used void storage for was this is a really neat item that I got off the first boss kill or whatever it was of this boss way back in the day. And I don't want to, I've hung on to it for all these years. And so I wanted to put it somewhere where it would always be, but I didn't have to look at it regularly inside of bank tabs, right? That's what I use void storage for. So I'd love if they incorporated something into housing. Let me do that similar thing of here's a really cool item that I want to hang on to, but I don't want it sitting inside my bank all the time, that I want to be able to put somewhere and look at as like a cool little trophy. So I think a trophy cabinet or a trophy shelf or something would be a neat thing to throw into housing if it's possible, to be like, hey, I brought my trophies, in here once I built my trophy shelf and put up all these items on display. And so people can come in and look at it and sort of like move their mouse cursor along it and see which each item is, would be a really neat thing to be able to do. So I'm hoping that's something they can look at for housing somewhere down the line, because that was the other thing with bank stuff. But in general, the bank is just going to be so much more storage space for people. It's just about getting stuff cleaned up, I think, before this hits, so you're not overwhelmed with what happens when everything gets dumped into these spaces. Okay. You got more to say?
Yeah. I mean, I think the initial announcement of this was kind of controversial for some reason, and I think it was just a knee-jerk of like, WoW players hate anything new. And we're just used to, like, if you do the math, like this means you have more space and it should be easier to use and organize.
Yeah.
It is scary when things go away, and it's scary when things change, and hopefully the conversion goes smoothly and there's not some disaster of, people losing items or whatever. But yeah, like overall it's an upgrade to the system for sure. And it's going to be a lot better for the game going forward. So that's great, but I think the initial thing was like, oh, this is going to be a downgrade, or this is going to be a problem, or why are they doing this? And I don't see a lot of evidence that any of that is actually the case. Even the bags I had in my bank tabs ended up in one of the new tabs, right? Like the bags that I had stored in there, you have to like buy, and then you have to put a bag in there. They were just in my inventory, so I could just vendor those, finally get rid of them.
Yeah.
It's also so much more convenient for a new character, because you don't have to have that, okay, let me unlock all the different slots now. Let me make sure I mail this character 7 bags or put them in the war bank or whatever. I have to acquire the bags for this character to then have a full bank. Like, that was just weird, and it's not consistent with the rest of the way our item storage works anymore. So yeah, I'm excited for it. It's gonna just make things so much easier.
The people who have a right to complain are tailors, because the need for bags is going to substantially drop after this. So tailors have a right to complain. I fully legitimize that. That is true.
That's true. Every character forever is going to need 7 fewer bags now at bare minimum.
Yeah.
At the very least, you need 7 fewer, if not more. So yeah, tailors in shambles right now.
Yeah.
Sorry, tailors.
All right, save the date for Gamescom 2025. It's going to be August 19th. And they've released a blog basically talking about what they're going to be doing here. So you can tune in for the opening night live reveal for midnight. That'll be happening. And then there's going to be, you watch the midnight expansion overview that takes place, which is going to have Holly Longdale and Ian Hazacostas and Chris Metzen. Like, this is like all-star cast doing this. So they're flying out the big wigs for the heavy hitters for the expansion reveal that's going to be happening there. If you're attending in person, it's going to be inside Hall 8. And obviously it runs from the 20th to 24th. However, as stated, the 19th is actually when they're going to be doing the Gamescom live stuff. So it's the press day, I believe, is when they're doing all of this, not the actual general attendance days. If you want to get hands-on, though, there will be a booth that you can stop by between the 20th and the 24th, which will have all the new housing systems, public demo stuff going on. It'll have ways to build and decorate and customize that sort of stuff for that feature. That's all going to be in Hall 8, so you can visit there. You can go to the live creator clash that's going to be taking place, which will be a live sort of showcase of player housing, as well as new Season 3 Dungeons and Delves, and an arena with top 4 teams from the AWC Season 2 competing. So there'll be an event that takes place there as well. And then you can meet at the community stage and hang out at the community stage and chat with a bunch of creators and, arena and dungeon folk and whatnot. There'll be a developer panel that takes place there, some behind the scenes stories, that kind of stuff will all happen at that as well. So if you are someone who happens to be in Cologne, Germany, and or can travel there easily and are heading out there, that's what's going on with Gamescom. Big news for us as the remote people who will not be flown out there and checking out stuff is the obviously midnight reveal stuff and expansion overview. Those will be huge panels to sort of check out and see what's going on with, because those are going to be very big for what's coming next and what the plans are for what's coming next.
Yeah, this is like in lieu of a BlizzCon this year, right?
Yeah.
This is the big WoW event for the midnight expansion. It's been, it's been since 2015 since they did a big one of these at Gamescom, right? Because that was Legion.
Yep.
And Legion ended up being a whole year until it came out. I don't think it's going to be a whole year until Midnight comes out from here. But yeah, this is super exciting. This is, we're a month away from this, I guess, as we sit here now.
Yep.
And yeah, they get Metzen on stage. That we're getting the real deal. This is going to be a huge presentation about the next expansion. That's going to be everything we need to know. I imagine that it will include pre-sales and pre-sale bonuses, a release window, if not a release date. It's the whole thing, man. It's not like, oh yeah, watch this Xbox thing and maybe there will be something about WoW in it. Like this is a huge deal for WoW, and this is Midnight's kind of debut to the world, other than just a logo and a title like we got at 23 BlizzCon, right? So definitely circle your calendars, check this out. I'm sure it's going to be worth watching. And I don't know, I have no idea what to expect, man. I mean, housing was kind of like a huge reveal that sort of dropped in between two different things, and we knew it was going to be tied to the Midnight release just because it has nothing to do with Midnight content, right? It's not part of the Midnight story or whatever, but it's just a feature that's coming in, and the time it's getting bundled in is in the Midnight expansion. But we knew about that way in advance, and we learned so much about it already. So what else does Midnight have under the hood? I mean, we know some of what to expect, right? I mean, a WoW expansion, you kind of assume includes these specific features and types of content, but I guess, are we going to see some big new stuff? We got some huge new stuff in the last 2 expansions. So maybe, I don't know, maybe it's not, housing is kind of the thing, and the rest of the stuff is your typical expansion rotation kind of thing. But I don't know if I'm not setting myself up for a new feature that's as big as say Delves have been in terms of gameplay stuff, right? I'm looking at this more of a continuation of stuff that they brought in Dragonflight and in War Within, and that is working and maybe is getting tweaked, not as there's also some huge new pillar we're standing up, or there's some huge new feature that we're including for players. But who knows? I mean, that's just going based on sort of what I've been doing with the game and where I kind of feel like it's going, or what I feel like we need. It feels like there's so much to do in the game already. It's like, if we get some other huge new gameplay feature, where does that go? What is it? Where do I find time to engage with that? Right? There is a little element of that. So I just kind of want to see where the story's going, what the zones look like, what the overall theming is. I mean, I'm really curious, I guess, and I'm sure they'll go into this, but about class design and talents. because we were introduced to hero talents at BlizzCon 23, and they said, listen, we don't want to just add on to the existing trees. We did that before. It results in bloat that we can't fix, and then we got to start over. So we're going to do hero talents. It's a separate tree that unlocks at level 71, and then you can you level it up to 80, and then you carry these talents with you, and you can change them throughout the expansion. What happens with Midnight? Do we keep those hero talents, and do we get another iteration of it at level 80? Do we lose, or level 90? Do we lose the level 80 hero talents, and then we have something different at level 90? I don't. That was my immediate question in November of 23 when we were sitting in the hall, like watching the presentation about hero talents, is like, what happens next time? And so that's the main thing I want to hear about from this, aside from all the typical, I'm excited to see the new cinematic and what the zones look like and everything. But in terms of like playing the game, that's my big question, is like, what direction are talents going in from level 80 to 90?
Yeah. The biggest thing for me, I guess, around that is a very similar case. My assumption is they're just expanding it. They're going to tack on, make the tree longer. That's my assumption. But we'll see what they choose to do. Okay. Legion Remix Mage Tower. So Kyvax came in with a post about this, basically outlining what you're not going to be able to earn from Legion Remix. Because they obviously mentioned a few things you can earn that are going to be really neat, but they want to keep some of the prestige of being around for Legion still there. So in Legion Remix, you will not be able to earn the Mage Tower artifact appearances, the artifact weapon appearances for PvP, or the seasonal PvP gear. Those you're not going to be able to earn in Legion Remix. You will still be able to earn the Mythic Chosen Dead ensembles, the Violet Spellwing, the Legion pre-launch event gear. Like, all of that stuff will still all be there, as well as, a bunch of new rewards they're going to add in, and different color variants on things and that kind of stuff. But they're keeping the Mage Tower artifact appearances, the artifact weapon appearances from PvP, and the seasonal PvP gear as Legion original saved content. That is the only prestige stuff they're keeping. It's not a lot of stuff. It is stuff that people obviously are highly sought after, similar to like the Mists of Pandaria challenge mode items, right? People very sought after things, but they're making sure that isn't something that's popping up in Remix to sort of keep the prestige of that original stuff for people who are around for it. So that is just a fair warning for those who are going to be exploring Legion Remix.
Yeah, and of course, anything with this, anytime this comes up, it's very controversial, and people have really, intense feelings on either side of the coin. I'm not surprised by this, and I'm glad that they're doing it this way. I think this is the way to do it. Mage Tower was a time and place, and it was presented as something that was very special and difficult at the time, and it was when it came in. It was very difficult. And yes, it got much easier by the end of the expansion, but the whole point was that it was planting the flag in the Legion expansion. It showed that you played that content at that time. I don't think they've done enough of this stuff over the years, and there's obviously stuff they have done. And, the Mists of Pandaria challenge mode items are mentioned. Corrupted Ashbringer's mentioned. I mean, Warlords also had challenge mode stuff. I think that stuff should have its place in history. I would be fine with them doing reskins, different color variants or whatever, change up the geometry a little bit and change up the color scheme and do new releases, because then it's a cool new thing to collect and people can kind of scratch that itch. But did I get every single artifact weapon appearance that I wanted from Legion? I did not. Did I get a lot of them that you can't get anymore? I did, and there's something cool about that. So I would never want to see them totally put those back out in the wild. And maybe that's selfish, but I think it's cool to have stuff that denotes a time and place and a thing that you participated in and did in the game.
It reminds me of the Amani Warbear, right? If you have the original Amani Warbear, it is a very specific coloration. They released another one you could get later on that's a very different coloration. It's very easy to tell the difference between the two. I think that's just neat. Like that's to me what I would expect in a lot of these situations is the slightly different, pretty obvious that it's different, recolor, reskin, change geometry slightly, versions of this kind of stuff I would be comfortable with. It's just nice to be like, okay, this is the original, and this is the the one that people can earn forever going forward, whatever it is the version they sort of do, and go, you can really tell the difference between these two things, so that it does still stand out. I think is important for people to have those snapshotted in time, I was there type of rewards for folks every now and then. So happy to see that.
Yeah, I mean, he mentions they're bringing the Violet Spellwing back that you can collect, which was the AOTC mount. You know, that's kind of unprecedented. I can't remember AOTC mounts coming back and since the achievement, the season ended, whatever. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm forgetting something, but this is the first time I can remember them doing that. And like, I don't really have a problem with that. You know, it's a fun thing to try to do by the end of the season. I mean, there are teams who, you know, raid at or above that level that get it early, and then there's people who don't really raid at that level, and then there's big community efforts to get, you know, the friendship birds and all that stuff out to the community, and that's awesome. And that was also, you know, years ago now. So I don't feel like there's as much prestige tied to something like an AOTC mount. I think that's a cool gift that inspires people to play together, and that's a cool way to do it. And I think it's fine to bring it back after a few years. There's distinctions between this stuff is really what I'm saying, and there's some things that should be left untouched.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think they chose 3 very good things to do that with. Okay. WoW housing. This is a blog post that came out, I think, a couple weeks ago now. So we didn't get a chance to chat about it yet because it's a very large WoW housing post that they put out. So the quick refresher that they put in here is that homes in World of Warcraft are separated into 2 neighborhood zones. The Founders Point, which is Alliance, and Razorwind Shores, which is for the Horde. And each neighborhood is made up of roughly 50 plots of the same size, all of which contain a house. They want players with different preferences or for locations to find a plot that's perfect for them. They want the vibe sort of to be there for players who are looking for something for a specific character. And some plots are placed far away from everything for those hermits that just sort of want to be out there on their own. So, you know, if you want that like cul-de-sac kind of feel, or if you want to be a hermit, they sort of have both of those feelings for different players. So, similarly, there's a variety of biomes in each zone, ranging from Founders Point spooky forest and autumn farmland to lush oases and windswept bluffs of Razorwind Shores. So in neighborhoods, you'll find a dynamic central hub area of both NPC activity and endeavors. An important consideration for us when they're looking at these zones is that they're quite big, and they want to be able to give players ample space. So partly because, you know, having a yard that you can decorate is something that people want to do, and they want to be sure people can express themselves. But also because they wanted to be sure there's enough room between plots the players didn't sort of like bump into each other or like put down a statue that loomed over a neighbor's yard or something like that, right? You don't want anything like that. You won't have to worry about they'd say this is a straight line. You won't have to worry about your neighbor's old growth tree jutting through your delicately constructed hedge maze, right? Like that's one of those things that they want to be sure. So a lot of that's there. They then talk about the housing organization in Azeroth, the HOA that they put in here. It's not just a question of choose where you live, but you choose to live near, but who you choose to live near. And so they are really, I guess, pointing out about these private neighborhoods versus public neighborhoods. So these are created as needed by the game. Servers can basically allow anyone to buy a house. As they fill up, new instances are created. This is for public housing, so just keep that in mind. So players looking for a house shouldn't see a message about all the neighborhoods being full, or public neighborhoods are run. They're run by the game as well, so including naming it with a semi-procedural generated name. So you could live in like, you know, I don't know, they put up like a one that just says like you're in Ashbringer, it's Ashbringer Lane or something like that, and then it just generates a name, and you go and you live on Ashbringer Lane, and that's where you choose to live. The organizing endeavors, again, there's going to be more chat about that below in this, but keeping the neighborhood running however is needed. So basically the public stuff is the server generates a random name when it needs to create a new neighborhood for people to live in. People can then choose to move into that neighborhood, and it's public, and it's, you know, obviously the same kind of layout as the private stuff, but it's just a public space. Private neighborhoods are created and owned by players, either by guilds as guild neighborhoods or by arbitrary groups of players as charter neighborhoods. And you basically, to create one of these, there's a minimum number of players, not characters, who must be in the guild or charter, as well as a minimum number of players who must live in that neighborhood. This is obviously due to technical concerns of not just being like, hey, I want to create a charter. It's for me and my one buddy. Please spin up a server for us so that we can live in a neighborhood, just the two of us, right? Like, obviously that's not something they want to have happen because it's just so resource intensive. The guild and charter neighborhoods have largely the same functionality. They can be named by their owners, and the names do not have to be unique. So if you're someone who, is like, hey, I want to name mine Ashbringer Lane, but Ashbringer Lane already exists in another, someone else has already claimed that, you can have multiple Ashbringer Lanes. That's a fine thing to do. So keep that in mind. Players, you don't have to rush to be like, oh my God, I have to name this the starting zone 1 like as quickly as possible or whatever it is, right? Like that's not a thing. The players can control who live in them. For guilds, this is via the guild roster. So if a guild removes someone, the player will also be removed from the neighborhood. Charters have manual control over who can live in them via special UI. There's a permission system for who can control the settings, membership, etc., and managing endeavors is responsibility of the owners and managers. So just keep in mind, if you leave a guild, you could be kicked out of your neighborhood. Now, I don't know what that means. I assume it means that your house and all of your stuff is ported to a public server. That is my assumption of what happens. It just boots you out of the private. I don't know if you get like a migration screen where it's going to say like, hey, you've left the guild, please choose another place to go. And whether or not there's going to be like an option to like talk to some of your buddies and be like, hey, can I get an invite to your private neighborhood and move your stuff there? I don't know how that's going to work. They haven't addressed that yet in this post, at least. So that's just something to keep in mind question wise for them. If you're going to Gamescom, especially, what happens if you leave a guild or are removed from a guild to your house and stuff? Where does it go? And can you select where you want that to go? Because that would be the neat thing of, okay, as a Mythic Raider, maybe you bounce around raid teams a lot. There's a lot of people who do that inside that scene. You have your neighborhood going with a Mythic Raid team that you're with for 2 tiers. The 3rd tier, you move into a new team. Can you move your house to that new team's private neighborhood if you wanted to? Or are you just kind of out of luck and that house now that gets dumped into a public neighborhood and you kind of have to like figure out how to start over again, which would be very unfortunate if that was the case. So just, migrating your home around would be a really nice thing. Okay. So there's a big difference, however, between guild and charter neighborhoods, and guild neighborhoods will have homes available for everyone in a guild through additional attached instances, regardless of the guild size, while charters are limited to the maximum number of plots in a neighborhood. Okay. So in a guild neighborhood, you could have 999 homes. That's what this is stating. In a charter neighborhood, you can have 50. That's basically what they're saying here. So guild neighborhoods will have homes available for everyone in a guild through additional instances, right? It's just going to keep generating instances to make sure that 999 people inside that guild can have a place for their house. Charters are 50. That's what you have space for inside a charter.
So one thing about this section that really strikes me is that public neighborhoods are not the way to go. Like, if you care about the system at all, even if you're somebody who mostly plays solo, or like you don't really have a guild or whatever, you probably want to find a community of people who also want to, engage in housing, because a public neighborhood just sounds no fun to me, right? Like, it's a place to put your house and decorate, but there's more stuff tied into the system than decorating your house. And I feel like this could be a nice opportunity to bring back some of that real social gameplay that is not as pronounced in WoW anymore, via charter neighborhoods and stuff. Like that sort of becomes a replacement for sort of what a guild on a server used to be, in some ways. So that's the one big takeaway I have from this is public neighborhoods sound like a total drag. And I think if you care about the system, even if you don't have a guild, you want to try to find some people, get a charter going, and have like a neighborhood that you can manage and actually get something out of. That's the biggest thing for me. I don't know. I haven't really, if the conversation is taking place around CTH, I haven't paid attention to it because we have a massive guild. And so I don't know what that would look like if they're going to just go, okay, everybody should be in the guild neighborhood, or if they're going to go, okay, teams should split off and make charters. I would kind of rather have the charter neighborhood. I don't have more than 50 people that would, be in my charter neighborhood. And it's like, okay, well, the team has like this space, and I can manage it through BNet or whatever. That sounds really cool to me. a giant guild like ours having like one neighborhood that's instance joined between multiple different instances, it seems kind of overwhelming maybe, but it's nice that they have support for all these different flavors of it. Public seems really like not fun. It seems actively not fun to me, but that's just kind of my takeaway from this part of the post.
Well, don't worry. If you're someone who does not have a guild and tends to play alone, but then finds friends and wants to join a community, there is a way to move, which is what I was sort of asking about earlier as to what happens if you get kicked out of a guild. I don't know necessarily how this is all going to look UI wise, which is what I'd love clarity on, and whether or not there's timers on how often you can move and things like that. That I want clarity on. But they do say that if you are someone who wishes to move, if you're, are going to be doing that, what happens if you don't like your neighbor or your neighborhood, you can pack up your house and basically it becomes unpackable in a new location. So they say they've designed this to be frictionless and straightforward, which is why I'm like, I'd love to see UI elements for this. Just get up and move. You can relinquish a house at any time, at which point your house's state will be saved, ready to be unpacked with a click when you purchase a new house elsewhere. When you move out, there's a regret timer started. So if you change your mind before purchasing a new house, you can move right back in again to that same spot. Once you buy a new place or the timer elapses, your old house will go back up for sale and another player can buy it. It's worth calling out if you are evicted from a private neighborhood, your house will also be packed up too. So we know that there's some pack up system. They talk about being able to buy someone's house. I'm really wondering if like I could build a home, put all my fancy knickknacks and stuff in it and design it out really cool, quote unquote, pack it up and move to a new plot, and someone can buy my old home with all of the knicknacks and stuff in it. Is that what they're describing? Because it sounds like that.
It sounds like you're just buying the plot.
Yeah. It's just the way they say it. It makes it sound like you're selling your house, and you're like, really? Because that'd be a whole other WoW thing of like you can get home designers who come in and design a place for you, and then leave, and you purchase it, and then you have this like fancy design home for you. Like, I don't know, dude,
that frontier of RMT would be so severe. People just like selling for cash interior design services. But no, I mean, it sounds, they do say like, your house's state is saved. Obviously that stuff has to be like tied to your account. So
you'd hope so.
There's sort of like mixing terminology here. Like your old house goes back up for sale, but they're not buying the house, they're buying the plot and then putting their house there.
That's what I would assume.
So yeah.
Their language is non-specific. This is what I'm pointing out.
Yeah, it should be the plot, not the house. The house essentially is the item that you've packed up. Yeah. Right? It's the state that is ready to be unpacked. That I guess like it probably looks to you like your house is still there, but maybe it's like transparent or something.
I don't know.
The regret timer's going.
I want to see the elements.
So, but then once you buy something else, then that plot is available. My guess is that if you get, it says about it being evicted, your house is also packed up. I assume that like there's the regret timer thing only applies if you voluntarily leave. Right. If you get kicked out of a guild plot, you're no longer eligible to be in that. So that would then be an available plot for someone else in the guild. So that, it's not specifically spelled out there, but it's sort of, I don't think those dots are too difficult to connect, but yeah, there's no like examples of what that looks like in the post.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Can people just walk into my yard or house? It depends. We want your house to be your space and for you to feel safe there, but also recognize some people are more social than others. So to that end, both your plot and house have independent permissions that can be set to allow or deny friends, guildmates, neighbors, or anyone to get in there and access and check them out. This lets you, for example, allow anyone on your plot, but only friends and to allow anyone onto your plot, but only friends and guildmates inside. Oh, okay. So people can wander around your yard, but they can't go into your house, and only guilds and friends can go inside your house. Of course, these permissions can be changed at any time. If you want to make it private for a book club meeting in the afternoon and then open it up for a dance party at night, These permissions are frequently checked, so you can change them and it will remove anyone whose, permissions are no longer valid. So yeah, cool. Neat.
So cool. This is a great feature. I didn't even really consider this. I just figured it would be kind of a blanket thing, and it kind of worked how it worked. But
yeah,
you have these 2 separate zones, and then you can tweak them to your, your preference and however you want to manage that. That's really awesome. We've talked a few times about, as these different posts come out, it's like this feature is just so much bigger, better, more interesting than I imagined. I'm more interested than I thought I would be. And they thought of so many different things. It's like I never really would have even considered these sort of granular permissions on, the zone around your housing plot and how you can set it up. Just really cool. Like, I don't know that I would really use it in any of the kind of ways that they describe, but it's fun to think about. And this is like a huge boon to our peers and stuff. So, who are pretty underserved, I would say, in WoW over the years. So it's really cool that they're thinking ahead on some of this stuff and just giving players the controls that that they're going to want.
Yeah. All right. So now they talk about endeavors and what these endeavors are. So endeavors are a neighborhood-wide activity open to anyone who lives in the neighborhood. Endeavors occur approximately once a month, and when a new endeavor becomes available, the neighborhood is provided with the opportunity to learn from various cultures and factions of Azeroth by completing different tasks. Players in private neighborhoods can choose from a selection of endeavors, though occasionally a set endeavor appears to highlight things that are happening in the world. I'm assuming, like, if this was around when Cataclysm happened, they'd probably have something to do with Cataclysm and whatnot inside of your neighborhood. In public neighborhoods, the game servers are responsible for choosing which endeavors are active. Each endeavor has a group of tasks that are collectively completed by the neighborhood. As tasks are completed, more NPCs from that area show up, making various themed decorations available to the neighborhood inhabitants, and the neighborhood changes visually to be decorated in that faction's fashion. So visiting players from other neighborhoods could come in and see that as well. In the number of tasks required scales with neighborhood size, so a 50-player neighborhood will have to complete more than a 10-player neighborhood. Similarly, if a neighborhood is less active, future endeavors for that neighborhood will also scale their requirements down to accommodate. Okay, so someone hasn't logged in with the next period of time, they become inactive. It doesn't count them towards the amount of tasks for an endeavor. That's great. They mentioned 10-player neighborhoods. I'm assuming that is the minimum, since they mentioned specifically 10-player neighborhoods. So let's move forward as though that's going to be the minimum amount of people you have to have inside a neighborhood for a neighborhood to exist privately. All right. Or in a charter. The tasks themselves run the gamut of gameplay, from crafting to gathering to questing to completing dungeons or raids. We want there to be a way for any given player to contribute to the endeavor, regardless of how they choose to engage with World of Warcraft. Successfully completing tasks not only yields rewards expected from that sort of task gameplay, but also grants a new type of endeavor currency, which is shared across all endeavors, as well as all neighborhood favor. So neighborhood favor is used to level up your house and earn rewards, while the endeavor currency is used to buy decorations from visiting NPCs, either in your neighborhood or in your friend's neighborhood. So it sounds like we will probably be bouncing around to friends' neighborhoods every now and then to see which vendors are up so that you can get specific rewards you might be looking for your home. Once enough tasks have been completed in an endeavor, the entire neighborhood is rewarded together, with bonus endeavor currency and neighborhood favor, as well as the ability to purchase all decorations at the NPC, provided players have sufficient currency to purchase said rewards. Their goals with endeavors are threefold: to give neighborhoods a common goal to rally around and be rewarded for collectively. It feels good to complete things together, and we want to encourage both synchronous and asynchronous play with your neighbors, which is also really nice to hear, because it means that maybe people are only able to play on weekends and other people play during the week. You might not need all those people online at the same time to be able to contribute to whatever is happening, which is nice. To give neighborhoods a choice in how things are visually presented on a larger scale, not just in individual player-owned plots, and introduce some asymmetry between neighborhoods to make visiting other neighborhoods more interesting. Because if you have different vendors in different neighborhoods, you'll want to visit around and try and get things. So They end this all off by saying this is just the start of what they're planning for neighborhoods and endeavors. Having a large-scale, persistent multiplayer space and the ability for players to collectively contribute to it is exciting for us, and they can't wait to build on it. What do you find most exciting? Keep the feedback inside the post. So the post is going to be linked, obviously, in our show notes. So you can click on that. I think I linked it in last week's show notes, too, in case people wanted to check it out. So it is available for folks to check out. In general, I think endeavors sound rad, like really cool, especially if, like, there's like, and I might do this eventually, maybe there already is there, like a central park or something inside those cul-de-sacs. Mostly cul-de-sacs usually have like a park or an area that's like a public space for everyone in the neighborhood. It'd be neat if you could like get stuff for that by completing endeavors, right? You're like, oh, hey, you complete endeavors. There's going to be a fireworks show that takes place in your park that you can go and watch if you want to, at this time. Or, maybe you can decorate it for different seasons and you can unlock seasonal decorations for that park. Would be a neat thing to be able to do. So like that's where this sort of screams to me of, hey, you completed this. Not only have you unlocked the vendor, but we'll do something for your neighborhood that makes your neighborhood feel good about accomplishing this thing.
Got to unlock the KK Slider concert. That's, yeah, no, I think that's awesome. This part is a little bit, the endeavors have been a bit controversial because I think there's a category of players who just want housing to be this thing that is not tied to any kind of schedule. They don't have to engage with it in any specific way at all, even if the specifications are very broad. Just want to go hang out, put stuff in the world and manipulate that space, make it look like how they want to, and they don't want anything tied to it. I get that, but I'm on the completely other side. And that's why housing was not a thing I ever asked for or was interested in up until we sort of started to see the workings of what WoW housing was going to look like. I love what they're saying here about having neighborhoods cooperate and earn rewards together, even rewarding different play styles. And it's not a raid. You don't have to organize people. Everybody just approaches it in their own way and everybody benefits from it. I love that idea of it. And we can see in the post, it looks like there's the housing level or whatever they're going to ultimately call it, looks like a renown system, basically. So I guess as you complete tasks and your housing level goes up, then you unlock other stuff that you can do or use or what have you, which is, again, that might be counter to what some people really think housing should be. I think it's cool, and it's something I'm looking forward to engaging with. I want to have reasons to care about housing, and doing stuff in World of Warcraft is that reason, right? Like, I miss WoW feeling more like an adventure. And, the modern game is really just this sort of cycle of end game activities that are repeatable and that you try to optimize them and get better and better rewards. And I feel like, at least to some degree, this could inject a little bit of that adventure flavor back into the game if you choose to engage with it that way, depending on what endeavors you have and what they ask you to do and whatever. I would assume they might be tied into the theming, and the theming might revolve around certain cultures or locations in the game or something like that. So, it might give you reasons to revisit old content or what have you. That could be really cool. I think it would be, to me, it would feel like it would be missing something if it was just, okay, well, you've collected this stuff from different old content, raids or dungeons, or you have this old profession skill, and so you can collect these materials and you can make these items for your house. And so the system is that, like, your house is here and your friend's house is across the path, and you can decorate your house and there you go, have fun. Like, for me, that's not enough. And I think the Endeavor system sounds exciting. It sounds like the piece that ties it all together as like World of Warcraft gameplay. I want it to be gameplay oriented, and I want to care about doing it. I don't want it to be just a customization hook that I wouldn't probably engage with. So I understand the other side of it, and like I said, there's a reason why I've been anti-housing for a long time, because I didn't want it to be this sort of side category time suck that gets away from the core gameplay of WoW, and it doesn't sound like it's going to be. I think, maybe if some people would prefer to have that sort of vacation or escape from it, then, I mean, you could ignore this stuff. You could just not do endeavors, and your neighborhood could just be whatever it is. I'm sure there'll still be plenty of options for you if you choose not to really engage with endeavors very much. But to me, like, there's also so much to pull from when it comes to World of Warcraft, and then condensing it into a housing system that players can engage with. Having Endeavor seems like a cool way to sort of spotlight particular things that then people are earning themed rewards around for a while, at least when the system is new. I don't know. It makes sense to me. I think this was a really good post. And again, I always say it every time a housing post comes out, like the system sounds bigger and way better than I ever imagined, and is moving in directions I didn't really expect. So yeah, I mean, I guess we're going to get a real good look at it in another month here when they let the public test it out at Gamescom, and we'll see whatever other updates we get in the meantime. But I don't know, man. It's really shaping up, and I think it's something if you would have told me, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, hey, WoW housing's definitely coming in, and that's all I knew about it, I'd be like, well, I'm not going to do that at all. Fine, whatever. Like, I'll have a house because that's what you do, but I don't care. But the system seems really robust and really like. It seems like it respects the fact that it exists within World of Warcraft. It's not like a housing mini game that exists in its own bubble. This is tied into the entire rest of our game, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind when you hear about housing is you just think to the closest reference, which was garrisons. This is nothing like that. This is a whole other level. And it's like, okay, well, this is very exciting. Really looking forward to this. I'm going to be like hard pressed to decide which neighborhood I'm a part of. Is going to be like a genuine challenge for me as to figuring this out. So that's going to be hard. Like, it's going to be a difficult decision to make. So it'll be interesting to figure that out and maybe move around a bit if I need to, neighborhood to neighborhood, to sort of figure out, like I'll have seasonal homes. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But that's something I'm super excited for with this feature. I think it's going to be really neat to see. Okay. With that, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons. They contribute a ton to our show and help us to improve on the content that we create. And today I'm giving a special shout out to Arajian, Bradley, Chris, James, Kapawi, and Shorel. And another shout out to our newest patron, Bruce, who hopped in there to support us as well. Thank you so much. And our Patreon's live over at patreon.com/thestartingzone. And if you want to hop in and support the show, you can head on over there and pick the tier you want to support the show at. And we appreciate you very much for doing that. And, feel free to hop into our Discord and say hi and whatnot. We love hearing from our patrons. So thank you, patrons, both past, present, and hopefully future. We appreciate you and what you give to keep the lights on for the show and keep the show going. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Bruce, welcome aboard. Great to have you supporting us, and thank you. And thanks to all our patrons, stretching all the way back to 2017 when we started it up. It's been a lot over the years. It's helped keep the show on track for sure. We couldn't do without you. So if you like this episode or any other episode we've produced in the last many years, thank a patron.
Yeah. If you folks like this episode, another great way to support us is by heading on over to your iTunes, your Apple Podcasts, your Spotifys, and leave us those 5-star reviews. They help out the show, help more people find the show, and move us up those charts. So it's great to get those reviews in when we can. That's going to wrap up episode 693 of The Starting Zone. If you want to check out show notes for this episode or leave us a comment on the show, you can head on over to thestartingzone.com, the official website for the Starting Zone podcast. For those of you still listening, the giveaway ended today. So we will be contacting the winner of the MOP Classic Shaw-infused Epic Pack giveaway after the show. So that'll be later today, and you'll receive an email in response to your email that you submitted with your code and everything. And thank you so much for everyone who entered. We had lots of entries and lots of great entries. We appreciate everyone who took the time to do it, and we hope to do many more of these in the future. So looking forward to hearing from you again. And again, thank you so much for listening all the way through the episode. It means a lot. We appreciate you. All right.
Yeah, we did this different format for this giveaway, and we got more responses than we typically get to, most stuff that we run via socials, which was really an interesting experiment. We are not social creators. We make this show. And so it was great to hear from our listeners and just hear, like I mentioned before, just memories of Pandaria or excitement to experience it in a way that they never really have because maybe somebody didn't play back then. But yeah, I mean, as we sit here now, we're like, a little bit more than 1 day away from MOP Classic coming out. I think in our local time zone, it's like 6 p.m. or something tomorrow, the July 21st. So pretty exciting as not like a real much of a Classic player. Mist doesn't really feel like that long ago to me, but it was. But it's an exciting week for Classic for sure. Just kind of the, Pandaria coming back to life for a little while is pretty neat. So thanks to everybody who entered. We'll go through the entries and we'll pick a winner and get that stuff out today in advance of long.
Oh, I think we just lost Jason there for a moment, but we will see if he comes back. If he doesn't, I will wrap up the show for him, which is perfectly fine. So we'll see what happens here. If he notices it, I will drop that and we'll try and bring him back in here. All right, let's see. We got him back?
I'm here.
Nope. It's doing weird things with my camera now, though. 1 second. All right, we're going to fix this chat. We get live fixing of our video framing, which you get to watch me do briefly and quickly to try and make sure that Jason is in the proper location and looking the way he should look. So we will get this done in 2, 1. All right. We'll go with that. All right. Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, I don't know. That was
you don't remember where you were? That's fine. Something. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know where I cut off or where the call dropped out. So.
You were. That's fine. We'll just I'll fix it in post. It'll happen in post. But let's just say, obviously, giveaways happening. We're doing recipients, and that's good. And all right, if you folks want to contact the show and leave us your feedback or ask a question, you can email us at thestartingzone@gmail.com or reach out to us on Twitter/X, I guess you want to call it, whatever you want to do, at The Starting Zone, or at The Starting Zone at bsky.social if you're a Blue Sky member, or at The Starting Zone, obviously, is the YouTube channel is youtube.com/starting zone, and then obviously thestartingzone.com/discord is the other place you can hop in and support there. If you want to get your hands on some TSC gear, we have that over at thestartingzone.dashery.com. You can check out all the designs on shirts and mugs and stickers. And Jason, where can folks find you on the internet?
Best place to find me, you can find me on socials over on Twitter at Shieldwald and over on Blue Sky at jlucas.bsky.social. I mostly post stuff to Blue Sky, but I do check both sites, so come say hi in either place. Video channels are twitch.tv/Shieldwald and youtube.com/Shieldwald. Been pretty dormant for a couple months now, but we got new stuff coming out, so it might be spinning back up pretty soon, so check those out as well.
Yeah. All right, if you're trying to find me, you can find me on Blue Sky at spencerhd.bsky.social, or over on Twitter at Spencer_Downey, or you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/SpencerHD, or on youtube.com/@SpencerHD. And with that, for Jason and myself, we want to say thanks for listening, and jobs done.